Welcome back to Bookkast, Bestsellers in Minutes. And today we're going to be taking a look at The Frozen River by Ariel Lawhon.
Ooh, very exciting.
Have you read this one?
I have. I have. This one was a real page turner.
Yeah.
And very interesting how she just took this historical figure,
Yeah.
Martha Ballard, and turned her story into a mystery.
A midwife
Yeah,
who becomes a detective.
exactly. And it really makes you think about like midwifery as a profession. Like,
Right.
they were there for like all the big life events.
Yeah, births and deaths.
Births and deaths and everything in between. And so they had this unique perspective on the community.
And she was a real person.
She was.
She really lived in Maine in the 1790s.
Yep. And she kept these meticulous journals, which is what Lawhon based the book on.
So that's our source material.
Exactly. It's like a
Yeah.
window into that time period and into the mind of this remarkable woman.
So let's dive into the story. It all starts with this body found frozen in the Kennebec River.
Right. Joshua Burgess.
And the authorities are quick to call it an accidental drowning.
Makes sense, right? Icy river in the middle of winter. It happens.
But Martha is not buying it.
Not at all. She's like, wait a minute, I've seen a lot of dead bodies in my time.
As a midwife,
Exactly. And this doesn't look like a simple drowning to me.
she notices all these details that others miss.
Like what kind of details?
Well, for starters, there are rope burns on his wrists,
Oh, that's suspicious.
and his windpipe is crushed.
Crushed. That doesn't sound like something that would happen just from being in the water.
Right. And there are signs of a beating, like someone really roughed him up.
Okay, so it's starting to sound less like an accident and more like...
Murder.
Exactly. And there's one more detail that really seals the deal.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat here.
The rope itself is missing.
Missing. Like someone took it off his body.
Exactly. Why would you remove the rope if it was just a tragic accident?
Good point. It's like a giant clue screaming this was no accident.
Exactly. But Martha's got a problem.
Oh, what's that?
The town physician, Dr. Page, he's sticking to the drowning theory.
I bet that causes some tension.
Oh, yeah. It's not just a difference of opinion, it's about power and authority.
So we have these two competing narratives.
Right. And it's not just about who's right or wrong, it's about who gets to decide what the truth is.
So how does Martha fight back?
Well, she's got her journal.
Ah, the famous journals?
Exactly. She meticulously records everything, her observations, her deductions, her frustrations with the authorities.
It's like reading a detective's notebook, but with added social commentary.
Totally. It gives us this incredible insight into her mind, her process, and the challenges she faced as a woman in that time period.
She couldn't just walk into the sheriff's office and be like, hey, I think you got this all wrong.
No way. She had to work within the system, the limited options available to her.
So what does she do?
She uses her position as a midwife to gather information.
That's clever.
Mm.
She's like a walking network.
Exactly. She's in and out of people's homes. She hears their secrets. She knows their stories.
She has access to a whole world of information that the authorities are completely oblivious to.
And Lawhon uses that brilliantly to drive the plot forward.
It makes you wonder how much of Martha's success as an investigator was due to her skills and how much was because people underestimated her.
Right, because she was a woman. Because they thought, oh, she's just a midwife. What could she possibly know?
And it makes you think about how many other brilliant minds have been overlooked throughout history simply because of their gender or their social status.
It's a question that resonates even today.
Absolutely. But going back to the story as Martha investigates, she starts to uncover some pretty dark secrets about this small town of Hallowell.
It's like a tangled web of relationships and hidden agendas.
And there are some key players we need to talk about.
Like who?
Well, there's Rebecca Foster, a young woman who's married to the pastor.
She plays a crucial role in the story.
She does. She claims to have been assaulted.
By Joshua Burgess, the man found dead in the river.
Exactly. And she claims that another prominent figure in town was involved, Joseph North.
Oh, this is getting complicated.
It is. This accusation throws a wrench into everything. Because now we're not just dealing with a possible murder, but also a potential cover-up.
And Joseph North is a powerful man.
He is. He's a judge.
So he has a lot to lose if this accusation gets out.
And a lot of influence over how the investigation unfolds.
Exactly. And the town is buzzing with gossip and speculation.
Everyone's whispering behind closed doors.
It's that classic small town dynamic where everyone knows everyone else's business.
And no one wants to speak up for fear of retaliation.
It creates this atmosphere of fear and silence that really adds to the tension of the story.
It's like the town itself is holding its breath, waiting to see what will happen.
And Martha is caught in the middle of it all.
Trying to piece together the truth while navigating this treacherous social landscape.
It's not just about solving a crime, it's about challenging the power structures that allow injustice to thrive.
And that's where things get really interesting.
Tell me more.
Well, Martha decides to take a bold step. She challenges Dr. Page's findings in court.
Whoa, she takes him to court.
She does. There's this amazing scene that takes place in Pollard's Tavern.
I remember that scene. It's packed with people, everyone's watching.
And Martha stands up and presents her evidence, her observations, her deductions.
It's a powerful moment. A woman standing up to a man of authority in a public setting.
And she's risking everything, her reputation, her livelihood, maybe even her safety.
But she does it anyway.
She does. And her courage, combined with her meticulous observations, forces the court to take her seriously.
For a moment, it seems like justice might prevail.
But then Judge North steps in.
Oh, no.
He dismisses Martha's findings.
Just like that.
Pretty much. He uses his authority to shut her down.
What a slap in the face.
It is. It's a stark reminder that even when a woman gathers evidence and presents a compelling argument, she can still be silenced by those in power.
It's infuriating, but sadly not surprising.
And this injustice isn't limited to Martha Rebecca's experience. Is a chilling example of how victims of assault were often disbelieved and blamed.
Their trauma minimized or ignored. It's heartbreaking. And sadly, not all that uncommon even today.
That's the power of historical fiction, I think. It allows us to connect with the past in a visceral way, to see how certain patterns of behavior and systems of oppression persist over time.
It's a reminder that we still have a long way to go in terms of achieving true equality and justice.
But let's not forget that Martha's story is not just about the darkness and the struggles.
Right. There's also so much strength and resilience.
Absolutely. We see it in Martha herself, in her determination to find the truth and to protect those she loves.
And we see it in the other women in the story, like Rebecca and Martha's daughters.
They're all facing their own challenges, their own battles, but they refuse to be silenced or defeated.
And that's a message that I think is really important to highlight.
It is. It's a reminder that even in the face of adversity, we can find the strength to fight back, to speak up, and to make a difference.
And sometimes that fight takes unexpected turns.
Oh, I bet it does in this story.
It does. Martha's investigation leads her down a path filled with twists and turns.
And some shocking revelations that will change everything she thought she knew about this case and about the people she thought she knew.
So what happens next?
Well, you'll have to stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive into the frozen river to find out.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the frozen river. Last time we left off with Martha facing a wall of silence and a whole lot of suspicion.
Yeah, the whole town was like a pressure cooker ready to explode.
And on top of that, she had just publicly challenged Dr. Page and Judge North.
Talk about a power move.
It was. But it came with consequences, especially for her relationship with Ephraim.
Remember, they ended up getting married.
Wow.
Right after that courtroom scene.
Yeah, it seems so sudden.
It did. Like, one minute they're arguing in court and the next they're exchanging vows. What was up with that?
Well, turns out it wasn't exactly a lovey-dovey kind of thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Ephraim actually revealed that Judge North kind of forced their hand.
Forced their hand? How?
He basically used his authority to pressure them into marriage.
Wait, a judge can just do that? Like, dictate someone's marital status?
Well, remember Martha and Ephraim had that lease on the mill property?
Right, the one that Joshua Burgess was contesting.
Exactly. And North, as judge, had the power to revoke that lease.
So he was holding their livelihood over their heads.
Pretty much. By marrying Ephraim, Martha gained his legal protection.
Ah, so it was all about securing their ownership of the mill.
Exactly. North wasn't being kind. He was manipulating the situation to control them.
That's messed up.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he was using their personal lives as pawns in this bigger game.
And it shows just how precarious their existence was. Their home, their livelihood, everything depended on that mill.
And speaking of precarious situations, remember that mysterious saddlebag Martha found hidden in Burgess's stuff?
Oh, yeah, the one she kind of borrowed from the shed behind the tavern.
Yeah, that one. Turns out it wasn't just filled with random junk.
What was in it?
Letters. A whole stack of letters that revealed a shocking truth about Burgess.
Ooh, this is getting good. What did the letters say?
They basically outlined a plan. A very sinister plan. Burgess was intending to seize control of the mill property.
No way.
And financially ruin the Ballards.
What? Why would he do that?
That's the question that haunts Martha throughout the book.
Yeah, like what was his beef with her?
Exactly. It adds a whole new layer of creepiness to the story.
For sure. And let's not forget about Cyrus.
Martha's son, who got arrested for Burgess's murder.
Right. What was the evidence against him?
It was flimsy. at best.
Hmm.
Mostly circumstantial stuff and testimonies from people who already had it out for the Ballards.
So basically a bunch of gossip and hearsay
Pretty much. It was like a witch hunt.
where accusations and rumors took on a life of their own, regardless of the truth.
Exactly. And that's what allowed Cyrus's arrest to happen in the first place.
But thankfully, his sisters Hannah and Dolly stepped up to provide an alibi.
Those girls were sharp. They noticed discrepancies and remembered details that others had missed.
It's a great example of how women, even though they were often dismissed, could be incredibly observant and resourceful.
Like amateur detectives.
Exactly. Their testimonies were crucial in highlighting the flaws in the prosecution's case.
And raising doubts about the charges against Cyrus.
And remember, their actions weren't without risk. Speaking out against the authorities, especially for women in that era, could have serious consequences.
Yeah, but they were fierce. They were determined to protect their brother.
It's a testament to their loyalty and courage.
And as the trial unfolds, another crucial piece of evidence emerges.
Oh, what's that?
That piece of lace, remember?
The one found among Burgess's belongings.
Yeah, the one Rebecca Foster described him using to tie back his hair during the assault.
Ah, so it corroborates her story?
Exactly. It shifts the focus away from Cyrus and back onto Burgess and his possible motives.
It's like a puzzle piece falling into place.
And it highlights the power of physical evidence, even something as small as a piece of lace.
It can challenge assumptions and change the course of an investigation.
For sure.
Yeah.
And this is where Martha's intuition really comes into play.
She's got that detective's instinct.
She does. Her encounter with Sam Darwin, that seemingly simple farmer, is a turning point in the story.
What happens with Sam?
Martha senses that he's hiding something.
And?
Her persistence pays off.
Ah.
He confesses.
He confesses to what?
To kill Joshua Burgess.
Whoa, hold on. He just comes right out and admits it.
He does. He explains that he discovered Burgess had been stalking and harassing his wife, May.
So he was protecting his family.
That's how he justifies it.
And that raises a whole bunch of moral and legal questions.
It does. Because on one hand, he took a life.
But on the other hand, he was acting out of desperation to protect someone he loved.
It's a complicated situation.
And it puts Martha in a tough spot.
Because she's been searching for the truth. But now that she has it, it's not so clear-cut.
It's not black and white. It's all shades of gray.
And remember, Martha's connected to this community. Sam Darwin isn't some stranger.
He's someone she knows, someone she's probably shared meals with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So his confession forces her to confront some uncomfortable truths.
About the people she thought she knew. And the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most seemingly peaceful towns.
And as if things weren't complicated enough, we also learn that Jonathan, Martha's son, was involved.
What do you mean?
Sam reveals that he and Jonathan had to cut the rope from Burgess's neck after he fell through the ice.
They were trying to save him.
They were, but it was too late.
That's heartbreaking.
It is. And it adds another layer of complexity to the story.
Because now Martha's own son is entangled in this mess.
Even if he didn't directly kill Burgess.
It must have been devastating for her.
It was. It shattered her perception of her family and added a whole new level of personal stakes to the investigation.
And just when you think things can't get any more complicated, the diphtheria epidemic reaches its peak.
It's like the town itself is under siege, both by the disease and by all these secrets and betrayals.
The epidemic becomes this constant threat, a reminder of how fragile life is.
And how easily everything can be lost. Welcome back to Bookkast, Bestsellers in Minutes. We're wrapping up our deep dive into the frozen river, and man, this is a story that just keeps you guessing until the very end.
It really does. Lawhon masterfully builds this sense of suspense, even though we know who committed the crime.
Right. It's not about who did it anymore. It's about what happens next.
Exactly. And Martha is right at the center of that dilemma.
She knows Sam Darwin killed Joshua Burgess.
But revealing that truth could have huge consequences.
For his family, for her family, for the entire community.
It's a classic case of right versus right.
Yeah, like on one hand, there's the desire for justice, for holding someone accountable for their actions.
But on the other hand, there's this understanding of the context.
Like why Sam did what he did.
Exactly. He was desperate. He was trying to protect his wife.
And we can't forget that this is 1790s Maine.
The legal system was a whole different beast back then.
Not exactly known for its fairness or compassion.
And Martha's seen firsthand how easily it can be manipulated by those in power.
Like Judge North.
Exactly. So she's not just weighing the legal consequences. She's also thinking about the social impact.
Like what would happen to Sam's family if he were to be convicted?
And what about the town itself?
Would it tear the community apart?
It's a heavy burden to carry.
And then there's the diphtheria epidemic.
Still raging on
It's like this constant reminder of the fragility of life.
How quickly things can change.
How easily everything can be lost.
It really adds a layer of urgency and despair to the story.
But amidst all that darkness, there are these glimmers of hope.
Little moments of beauty that shine through.
Like the reunion of Sarah White and Henry Warren.
The father of her child.
It's such a tender scene amidst all the hardship.
It speaks to the power of love and second chances.
And it challenges those rigid social norms of the time.
Where women who had children out of wedlock were ostracized and shamed.
Sarah's story is really powerful.
It is. She represents the resilience of so many women who had to navigate a society that constantly judged and condemned them.
And speaking of facing judgment, let's talk about Joseph North.
Oh yeah, he may have fled to Boston, but he couldn't outrun his past forever.
His trial in Pownellborough is a turning point in the novel.
It is. It's a real courtroom drama.
With Rebecca Foster finally getting the chance to confront her abuser.
To have her voice heard.
But of course, North's attorney tries to discredit her.
Uses every trick in the book to paint her as unreliable.
It's classic victim blaming.
A tactic sadly still used today.
To silence and shame survivors.
But Rebecca stands firm.
She's so courageous.
And then there's that twist.
When Judge Wood recuses himself.
Because he knows North personally.
It's like a crack in the foundation of that old boys network.
A sign that maybe things are starting to change.
And it leads to a fairer trial for Rebecca.
Where her testimony is finally taken seriously.
It's a small victory, but a significant one.
And it has ripple effects throughout the community.
With North's reputation tarnished and Burgess gone, Ephraim is finally able to secure their ownership of the mill. It's like a huge weight has been lifted from their shoulders.
They can finally breathe easy, knowing their livelihood is safe.
But the diphtheria epidemic has left its mark.
Its claimed lives and changed the town forever.
And there's that final scene with the black fox.
The one that had been appearing throughout the novel.
It approaches Martha, offering this moment of quiet connection.
Yeah, it's such a powerful symbol.
Of wisdom, of resilience, of the interconnectedness of all living things.
It's a reminder that even in the midst of tragedy, there's beauty to be found in the natural world.
That scene really stayed with me.
Me too. It's like a reminder that sometimes the answers we seek aren't found in grand pronouncements or dramatic courtroom battles.
But in the quiet moments of reflection.
In the stillness.
The frozen river gave us so much to think about.
The complexities of justice, the power of observation, the resilience of the human spirit.
It's a story that sticks with you long after you finish the last page.
It makes you question your own values, your own choices.
And that's what great literature is all about.
It challenges us. It makes us think. It expands our understanding of the world.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into the frozen river.
Thanks for joining us on Bookkast, Bestsellers in Minutes.
We'll see you in the next deep dive.